Hey guys, I wanted to do a quick video, and for those who don't know who I am, my name is Peter Asentoft. I'm the conscious man. My mission on this planet is to help evolve the way that we see masculinity today. I'm sure we can all agree that the masculinity that we see today has its flaws, and it's time. It's time to change the way that we view masculinity. It's time for men to come together and be better, to be more. More for ourselves, but also for our goddesses, our women in our lives. And we can do that. I know we can, because I see the future. I see the potential that we men have and the potential that we can create in this world. But it all starts with you. One man, one at a time. So today I wanted to share a little bit about a topic that recently came to my attention in terms of the divine feminine. Now my view on the divine masculine and feminine might be a little bit different than some people. However, as we're many different people on this planet, there's many different views on it. So I respect all of the different views. Today, because it's February 1st, the energy that we have today is a very special and unique one. Today is a celebration. It's a celebration of the divine feminine in its many forms. Today, in Ireland, they celebrate Saint Bridget, who was a Celtic goddess of love and fertility. Now, why is this important in terms of divine feminine? Well, it's important because there's so many different variations of the divine feminine that we've seen throughout history in terms of religion and philosophy. But there's some of the things that are not spoken of openly so much, which is how the divine feminine actually, feels on the masculine. So I want you to think of this. I want to use the analogy of religion because it's an easy analogy. So let's use the analogy of the church. The church basically took out the divine feminine for centuries. And I will say to this day, there's still a lot of challenges for the feminine, the divine feminine to really step into their full power and potential, mostly because of us men, but also because of social conditioning and old belief systems. So the church basically took out the divine feminine. And why did the church do that? Well, in my opinion, one of the main reasons why the church took out the divine feminine is because the power of the divine feminine. See, most people don't want to talk about Jesus and Mary Magdalene. They don't want to talk about the divine masculine and feminine together as one unit. And the reason they don't want to do that is because if you have the divine feminine, and if you're a man that is not very conscious, you fear that. You're afraid of that. You're afraid of that power, that sensuality, that healing, that empowerment that the divine feminine is. So for a man that wants power and crave power, and want to be the top of the top, from a lower consciousness perspective, you would take out the divine feminine because it would be competition, right? So when Saint Peter, unfortunately, my name brother, he was very jealous of Jesus or Yeshua's relationship with Mary Magdalene. So when Jesus passed away, they basically drove out Mary Magdalene, so she had to live in hiding. And that was the beginning, at least in Christianity, of how to take out the divine feminine. Now, luckily for all of us, you can't really take out an energy. You can try to hide it, which has been done for centuries, but you can't really forever just take it out. So in the last many years, we've noticed a difference in the way that women come together. We've seen or felt this new energy that's been coming to the planet, which for some people have been called the divine feminine. Now, when you look at that, and when you look at how the divine feminine comes into play, it's important for us men. And this is where I would say that we need the biggest change right now, because everybody seems to be freaked out about sensuality and sexuality. And when you talk about the divine and feminine and masculine, that is one of the elements you cannot neglect. Like the connection between a man and a woman, specifically the divine masculine and feminine, when they come together in sacred union through the sexual act, which if you read the Bible, and you'll actually notice that there are passages, even in the Gnostic text, where Jesus and Mary Magdalene, they go into what is described as the bridal chamber. The bridal chamber is where the unification of the divine masculine and feminine occur. So when Mary Magdalene anointed Jesus' feet and they went into the bridal chamber, what happened was that she initiated him in the divine feminine, and he initiated her in the divine masculine. And because of that, they came together as a third entity when they had sex. Their sacred union created a third entity, which I strongly feel I would call the universal human, so to speak. So it's like Mr. Universe coming together with Mrs. Universe, and they're creating this holy unit of a universal human. The universal human is the entity or the energy that embodies all of those things, which are the divine and feminine, but not as separate things, as one thing. And it's important to understand that, because one of the things that unfortunately I see a lot in the world, and even in spiritual communities to this day, is the lack of respect of women. The lack of respect of the divine feminine. Because when we talk about all of this, especially in the more spiritual circles, it's very easy to get hung up or almost trapped in this idea that, oh, we're so free spirited, so let's just do everything, like let's just basically all of us have sex and blah, blah, blah. However, a lot of times what happens is that people actually step over each other's boundaries. So I want to encourage all the men who are actually watching this video. I want to encourage you to look at the woman just as you would look at the holiest of holy that you were brought up in terms of belief, faith, or religion. So, and the reason I use that analogy is because a lot of people are not aware that the feminine, or actually the woman, embodies what's called the Holy Grail. And yes, the Holy Grail is also a cup, but the cup is only the symbol of what the woman actually represents. So when a man and a woman comes together in holy sexual compatibility or union, what happens is that the man activates the Holy Grail in the woman, and then the woman actually initiates the man through the divine feminine. And it's important to understand that, because that is so important for us men to realize the importance of the divine feminine, the importance of the goddess that we're with, the women that we're surrounded with, why they're so important. Because essentially they are the main reason why our consciousness evolves. I'll say that again. They are the main reason why our consciousness evolves as men. And the reason is they hold space for us. When the woman or the women hold space for the men, we have the ability to evolve. And that's what you're seeing, and what you've seen the last 40, 50 years. You've seen a huge movement of really powerful, strong spiritual women coming together and really changing the world. And now it's time for us, men, to do the same. So think of women as the most sacred of temples. Think of them as the way you would honor when you go to church or the mosque or wherever you go to celebrate your faith. Think of them as a way of you connected with the divine, the highest of the highest, the God being that is created.